Greetings and welcome to the 10th episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases. As always, I'm your host Dark Elf Guy, showcasing another 12 mods for you this evening. As usual, you can find the download links for the featured mods down in the description below. And don't forget you can return to the main menu here at any time by clicking the main menu button in the upper left hand corner. Now why don't we go ahead and get started with our popular mod of the week. Which this week is Hilga the Seamstress by Plainkai. This mod adds a new shop to the Dragonfell skyline, as you can see here. This pleasant shop offers a number of clothing lines, offered for sale by the proprietor Hilga. These include a number of new clothes for both male and female characters, which range from robes, pants, shirts, to dresses. You can even find the occasional new pair of shoes as well. Here you can see some of the outfits for sale. Now obviously, since I play a male character, I can only really show off the male outfits, but rest assured there are a number of exquisite outfits for sale for the opposite gender as well. You can find all these outfits and much more at Hilga's shop. And they're absolutely perfect for the stylish adventurer on the run. For our building mod of the week, we have Crankgorilla's Cedar Supplies. This mod adds a new shop to Cedarneen, along with some rather curious velociraptors. And a number of new documents, including README files for each of the modder's resources used. You'll also find a weapon grinder here, and this can be used to improve your attacks. Inside you'll find a rather neat aquarium, as well as a number of new items, including some rather nice looking tapestries. Of course, the primary attraction here is a few new merchants, which have a decent stock of gold, and will sell you a Cedarneen teleport ring. They also sell a ton of other new items, such as stained glass lanterns, potions, and other miscellaneous goods. Cedar Supplies is truly a great place to stock up a new character on provisions. This week's gameplay mod of the week is Guar's by Abbott. With this mod, you can find a number of Ashlander Guar tamers at various towns around Vvardenfell, and they can offer you smart Guars, as well as a number of new dialogue and spells relating to them. You'll need to buy a harness before you can claim a Guar as your own. And once you've got it equipped, the Guar will obey every command you give it. These Guars act as fully featured companions, and have a number of different dialogue options and commands you can use. And of course, you can mount a Guar and ride on top of it. This includes a number of additional commands, such as speeding up and jumping, which will allow you to gallop across the countryside and experience the world as you never have before. As you can see, you can really speed across the countryside. There's even mounted combat, but be careful not to hit your own Guar in your attacks. Next up is our dungeon mod of the week, and this week it's Tombs Expanded by Zapera. This mod is a massive dungeon expansion of all existing ancestral tombs on Vvardenfell, adding some 300 new dungeon interiors to the game. Now every tomb has a lot more corridors, rooms, and loot to explore, as well as a ton of new opponents to fight. It is a little frame rate heavy though, so keep that in mind if you go into the new Morrowind Graphics and Sounds Overhaul 3.0. These dungeons are partially randomly generated, and include massive chambers, as well as a number of smaller rooms for you to explore in the dim-lit darkness of the undead realm. Many of these new dungeon interiors are maze-like in design, and are similar to many of the old-school roguelike dungeons of yesteryear. And these dungeons are truly massive, easily dwarfing anything found in vanilla Morrowind. Whether you're just looking for some more opponents to face, or tombs to explore, or loot to gather, Tombs Expanded adds a ton for you to do and makes tomb delving into a real adventure. This mod easily adds dozens of hours of content for you to explore in these ancestral tombs. For our items mod of the week, we have Mournhold Clockmaker by Berebus and Negito. This mod adds a Clockmaker to the Mournhold Craftsman Hall, complete with a number of different clocks, all functioning and showing the correct time. You can buy most of these, though they are quite pricey. There's even a small quest you can do for the Clockmaker to get a rather modest discount. You can also find a little workshop and living quarters beneath the Clockmaker's stall. Including a number of the tools of the trade, as well as a number of clock schematics. Here you can see a number of purchased clocks, and as you can clearly see, they are telling the time perfectly, making a tick for each minute. Though it might be a little hard to tell in this video. And here's a long case clock that you can get as a reward for the Clockmaker's quest. It keeps time perfectly, and dongs at every 3 hours. This week's quest mod of the week is Daedric Sorcery by Edwards MD. This mod starts out with you getting hired by a Lord Alton to assassinate a few people. Pleasant sounding fellow, isn't he? These people, of course, have other plans, and will offer to hire you to assassinate Lord Alton instead. As this continues, you'll essentially be running a backstabbing operation, as each party involved in each part of the quest seeks to backstab the other. And you'll become a glorified courier of falsified documents, handed to one employer after another. And yes, you can get hired by as many as 3 different parties to backstab all the other parties. It gets a little confusing after a while. All of this backstabbing is for the ability to summon Daedric princes at your own whims. But as it turns out, they may send fierce opponents to kill you rather than grant an audience, of course. But should you do the chants correctly, a Daedric prince will appear before you. After a long series of chants, naturally. Of course, these Daedric princes will have additional quests or tasks for you to do at their behest. This mod essentially grants you the power to summon a god. For our Landmass mod of the week, we have Lothfor's Legacy by Earstam. You'll find an old sailor at the docks of Sadrith Mora, with tales of a mysterious island, and his missing younger brother who went to explore it. He'll offer to take you there, but he won't wait around for you for very long, and you'll soon find yourself stuck on the island. It's a very beautiful place, but it also hides many mysteries, as you'll soon find out. Now you'll find a number of characters here, as well as a small village, overlooked by a rather foreboding fortress. Each character has a fair amount of unique dialogue, and how you talk to them will make a difference in their disposition towards you. Some will tell you what they know about the missing sailor you came to find, and it soon becomes apparent that the island has quite a history of disappearing adventurers. Even so, you'll find a guest tower here. But you may start having strange dreams of the man you came to find. A rather unique feature of this mod is NPC scheduling. With characters traveling to different parts of the island at different times of day, and sleeping at night. You can even wake them if you want to. As you explore the island, you'll find yourself trapped in a maze filled with taunting ghosts, and more questions about what's really going on here. While this is a long and heavily story-driven quest mod, the ending may well surprise you, and may well change the history of Vvardenfell. Next up is our NPC mod of the week, and this week we have Mort by Jack. This is a companion mod that adds everyone's favourite floating skull to a skull pile in an ancestral tomb in Vvardenfell. Mort is a fully functional companion with a fair amount of humorous dialogue. And a number of different companion features. You can choose to give him one of your healing potions. And he has a number of movements and waiting commands that you can give him. As you travel together, he'll fight alongside you, mostly by bashing his head into enemies. Of course, you'll need to check his health now and then, and remind him to heal himself should the need arise. Eventually, you may come across a set of silver teeth, which can act as a weapon upgrade for Mort to bite foes with, or at least that's what I assume he uses it for. You also find that Mort, being a floating skull and all, is more than capable of following you into the sky should you levitate. It should be noted that Mort can level up with you, and gradually improve his skills. Having a floating skull companion will also offer you plenty of photo opportunities. Say cheese, Mort! Or just keep grinning like that, I suppose. For our new Meshes and Textures mod of the week, we have Vvardenfell Diversified by Broder Fisk. This mod adds unique faces to a number of NPCs across Vvardenfell, such as Hriskar and Alone the Scout. Here's a few before and after shots to properly show off the changes. These new faces are completely unique to these characters, so you won't see them repeated anywhere else in the world, like you would in vanilla Morrowind. Also included in this mod is some unique player faces you can use on a new character if you so desire, so you won't have to share a face with someone else in the world. This mod does truly make Vvardenfell a more diverse place, and faces anyway. This week's underrated mod of the week is Faction Living Quarters by Ority. This mod adds new areas to several factions in the game, such as this alchemy lab, which includes a cleanup kit and an ingredient sorter, as well as living quarters for members of each faction, but you'll have to actually join before you can gain access to them. Once you join a faction, however, you'll now be able to use a living quarters facility. And these are quite cozy abodes indeed, with storage and display space adequate for fledgling members of a guild. Nearly every faction now has their own living quarters for player use, and each one is unique, such as this one for the Dunmer Temple. And then there's this one for the Thieves Guild, which includes an escape hatch, as well as a teleport ring which comes standard issue to each faction's living quarters in the game. And there's a small amount of loot for you to use as well. Each great house also has living quarters for new members as well, such as this one for House Talvani. This mod makes joining factions even more worthwhile for new players, adding a feature sorely missing from the original game. Next up is our Blast from the Past mod of the week, and this week we have Castle Vianden by Reflection. This mod adds a new castle right outside of Sadr Mora, based off of the Vianden Luxembourg castle in Europe. It's a massive and magnificent castle, complete with surrounding walls, courtyards, and numerous rooms and towers. Inside, you'll find a lavish recreation of the castle, perfectly repurposed as a player home, with areas for display using cases and mannequins. Some of these display halls are quite large, as you can see here. And they contain paintings of the original castle. You'll also find a bedroom for your personal use. As well as books on Castle Vienden's real-world history. There's also plenty of normal castle stuff to find, such as this lavish kitchen here. And there's a massive banquet hall, perfect for those large dinner parties. Of course, you'll also find a genealogy room, covering the castle's previous owners. Finally, for our bonus mod of the week, we have New Bedrolls by Kalislan. This mod adds a new vendor to Nissus, who sells a wide variety of colourful looking bedrolls, or more appropriately called luxury bedrolls. And you can buy them for a pretty septim or two. These act just like normal bedrolls, and you can place them anywhere and use them to rest, or just pick them back up again if you prefer. That's all for this week. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. As always, you can find the download links for these mods down in the description below. And we'll be back next week with another 12 mods for your viewing pleasure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.